The Bundeswehr is the unified armed forces of the Federal Republic of Germany and their civil administration and procurement authorities. The states of Germany are not allowed to maintain armed forces of their own, since the German constitution states that matters of defense fall into the sole responsibility of the federal government. The Bundeswehr is divided into a military part and a civil part with the Armed Forces Administration. The military part of the Federal Defense Force consists of the Heer, Marine, Luftwaffe, Streitkräftebasis, and the Zentraler Sanitätsdienst branches. The Bundeswehr is among the world's most technologically advanced and best supplied militaries, as befits Germany's overall economic prosperity and significant military industry. However, with military expenditures amounting only to 1.35% of the GDP, it is also amongst the lowest budgeted militaries in the world in terms of share of GDP. As of June 2014, the Bundeswehr has a strength of roughly 183,000 active troops, making it the 30th largest military force in the world and the 4th largest in the European Union, behind the armed forces of France, Italy and the United Kingdom. In addition, the Bundeswehr has approximately 144,000 reserve personnel. History. Traditions. The Bundeswehr does not consider itself successor of the Reichswehr, and the Wehrmacht does not follow the traditions of any former German military organization. The official Bundeswehr traditions are based on three major lines: the military reformers at the beginning of the 19th century such as Skarnest, Gneisenau, and Clausewitz, the members of the military resistance against Hitler such as Claus von Stauffenberg and Henning von Treschow, and its own tradition since 1955. As its symbol, the Bundeswehr uses a form of the Iron Cross. The Iron Cross has a long history, having been awarded as a military wartime decoration for all ranks since 1813, and earlier associated with the Teutonic Knights. The name Bundeswehr was proposed by the former Wehrmacht general and liberal politician Hasso von Manteuffel. One of the most visible traditions is the Graue Zappenstreak, a form of military tattoo that goes back to the Landsknecht era. Another expression of the traditions in the German armed forces is the ceremonial vow of recruits, during basic training. Annually on July 20, the date of the assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler by Wehrmacht officers in 1944, recruits of the Ich-Bataillon vow at the Bendeler Block, where the officers had their headquarters, but recently the national commemorations in Berlin are now held at the grounds of the Reichstag, and there are similar ones held all over the Federal Republic on that day. The wording of the ceremonial vow of conscripts was and still is, "I pledge to serve the Federal Republic of Germany loyally and to defend the right and the freedom of the German people bravely. Ich lobe, der Bundesrepublik Deutschland zu dienen und das Recht und die Freiheit des Deutschen Volkes tapfer zu verteidigen." Professional soldiers and officers of the Bundeswehr have to swear an oath with the same words, but beginning with Ich schwöre paragraph Re. Cold War 1955–1990. After World War II, the responsibility for the security of Germany as a whole rested with the four Allied powers, the United States, the United Kingdom, France and the Soviet Union. Germany had been without armed forces since the Wehrmacht was dissolved following World War II. When the Federal Republic of Germany was founded in 1949, it was without a military. Germany remained completely demilitarized and any plans for a German military were forbidden by Allied regulations. Only some naval minesweeping units continued to exist, but they remained unarmed and under Allied control and did not serve as a national defense force. Even the Federal Border Protection Force, a mobile, lightly armed police force of 10,000 men, was only formed in 1951. A proposal to integrate West German troops with soldiers of France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg and Italy in a European defence community was proposed but never implemented. There was a discussion among the United States, the United Kingdom and France over the issue of a revived German military. In particular, France was reluctant to allow Germany to rearm in light of recent history. However, after the project for a European defence community failed in the French National Assembly in 1954, France agreed to West German accession to NATO and rearmament. With growing tensions between the Soviet Union and the West, especially after the Korean War, this policy was to be revised. While the German Democratic Republic was already secretly rearming, the seeds of a new West German force started in 1950 when former high-ranking German officers were tasked by Chancellor Konrad Adenauer to discuss the options for West German rearmament. The results of a meeting in the monastery of Immerod formed the conceptual base to build the new armed forces in West Germany. The Amt Blank, the predecessor of the later Federal Ministry of Defense, was formed the same year to prepare the establishment of the future forces. Hasso von Manteuffel, a former general of the Wehrmacht and liberal politician, submitted the name Bundeswehr for the new forces. This name was later confirmed by the West German Bundestag. The Bundeswehr was officially established on the 200th birthday of Scarlist on November 12, 1955. In personnel and education terms, the most important initial feature of the new German armed forces was to be their orientation as citizen defenders of a democratic state, fully subordinate to the political leadership of the country. A personal screening committee was created to make sure that the future colonels and generals of the armed forces were those whose political attitude and experience would be acceptable to the new democratic state. There were a few key reformers, such as General Ulrich de Maizière, General Graf von Kielmansegg, and Graf von Bordessin, who re-emphasized some of the more democratic parts of Germania unregistered trademark S armed forces history in order to establish a solid civil-military basis to build upon. After an amendment of the Basic Law in 1955, West Germany became a member of NATO. The first public military review took place at Andernach, in January 1956. A U.S. military assistance advisory group helped with the introduction of the Bundeswehr's initial equipment and war material, predominantly of American origin. In 1956, conscription for all men between the ages of 18 and 45 was reintroduced, later augmented by a civil alternative with longer duration. In response, East Germany formed its own military force, the Nationalvolksarmee, in 1956, with conscription being established only in 1962. The Nationalvolksarmee was eventually dissolved with the reunification of Germany in 1990. Compulsory conscription was suspended, but not completely abolished as an alternative, in January 2011. During the Cold War, the Bundeswehr was the backbone of NATO's conventional defense in Central Europe. It had a strength of 495,000 military and 170,000 civilian personnel. Although Germany had smaller armed forces than France and the United States, Cold War historian John Lewis Gaddis assesses the Bundeswehr as perhaps world's best army. The army consisted of 3 corps with 12 divisions, most of them heavily armed with tanks and APCs. The Luftwaffe owned significant numbers of tactical combat aircraft and took part in NATO's integrated air defense. The Navy was tasked and equipped to defend the Baltic approaches, to provide escort reinforcement and resupply shipping in the North Sea and to contain the Soviet Baltic Fleet. During this time the Bundeswehr did not take part in combat operations. However, there were a number of large-scale training and operational casualties. The first such incident was in June 1957, when 15 paratroop recruits were drowned in the Iller River, Bavaria. German reunification 1990. After reunification of Germany in 1990, the Bundeswehr was reduced to 370,000 military personnel in accordance with the Treaty on the Final Settlement with respect to Germany between the two German governments and the Allies. The former East German Nationalvolksarmee was disbanded, with a portion of its personnel and material being absorbed into the Bundeswehr. About 50,000 Volksarmee personnel were integrated into the Bundeswehr on October 2, 1990. This figure was rapidly reduced as conscripts and short-term volunteers completed their service. A number of senior officers received limited contracts for up to 2 years to continue daily operations. Personnel remaining in the Bundeswehr were awarded new contracts and new ranks, dependent on their individual qualification and experience. Many received and accepted a lower rank than previously held in the Volksarmee. In general, the unification process of the two militaries under the slogan Armee der Einheit has been seen publicly as a major success and an example for other parts of the society. With the reduction, a large amount of the military hardware of the Bundeswehr, as well as of the Volksarmee, had to be disposed of. Most of the armored vehicles and fighter jet aircraft were dismantled under international disarmament procedures. Many ships were scrapped or sold, often to the Baltic states or Indonesia. Reorientation. A major event for the German military was the suspension of the compulsory conscription for men in 2011. Indiana, 2011/12, a major reform of the Bundeswehr was announced, further limiting the number of military bases and soldiers. As of December 2012, the number of active military personnel in the Bundeswehr was down to 191,818, corresponding to a ratio of 2.3 active soldiers per 1,000 inhabitants. Military expenditure in Germany was at $31.55 billion in 2011, corresponding to 1.2% of GDP. Both the number of active soldiers and the military expenditure places Germany below comparable countries of the European Union such as France and the United Kingdom. While this is already true in absolute terms, the difference is even more pronounced when taking into account Germany's larger population and economy. This discrepancy is often criticized by Germany's military allies, especially the United States. Command organization. With the growing number of missions abroad, it was recognized that the Bundeswehr required a new command structure. A reform commission under the chairmanship of the former President Richard von Weizsäcker presented its recommendations in spring 2000. In October 2000, the Joint Support Service, the Streitkräftebasis, was established to concentrate logistics and other supporting functions such as military police, supply and communications under one command. Medical support was reorganized with the establishment of the Joint Medical Service. The combat forces of the Army are organized into 5 combat divisions and participate in multinational command structures at the corps level. The Air Force maintains 3 divisions and the Navy is structured into 2 flotillas. The Joint Support Service and the Joint Medical Service are both organized in 4 regional commands of identical structure. All of these services also have general commands for training, procurement, and other general issues. The Minister of Defense or the Chancellor is supported by the Chief of Defense and the service chiefs and their respective staffs in his or her function as Commander-in-Chief. The CHOD and the service chiefs form the Military Command Council with functions similar to those of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States. Subordinate to the CHOD is the Armed Forces Operational Command. For smaller missions, one of the service HQs may exercise command and control of forces in missions abroad. The Bundestag must approve any deployment abroad by a simple majority. This has led to some discontent with Germany's allies about troop deployments, for example in Afghanistan, since parliamentary consent over such issues is relatively hard to achieve in Germany. Mission. The role of the Bundeswehr is described in the Constitution of Germany as absolutely defensive only. Its only active role before 1990 was the Katastropheneinsatz. Within the Bundeswehr, it helped after natural disasters both in Germany and abroad. After 1990, the international situation changed from East-West confrontation to one of general uncertainty and instability. Today, after a ruling of the Federal Constitutional Court in 1994, the term defense has been defined to not only include protection of the borders of Germany, but also crisis reaction and conflict prevention, or more broadly as guarding the security of Germany anywhere in the world. According to the definition given by former Defense Minister Struck, it may be necessary to defend Germany even at the Hindu Kush. This requires the Bundeswehr to take part in operations outside of the borders of Germany, as part of NATO or the European Union and mandated by the UN. Operations. Since the early 1990s, the Bundeswehr has become more and more engaged in international operations in and around the former Yugoslavia, and also in other parts of the world like Cambodia or Somalia. After the September 11, 2001 attacks, German forces were employed in most related theaters except Iraq. Currently there are Bundeswehr forces in Afghanistan/Uzbekistan, ISAF, 4,079 personnel, mandate limit, 4,400. Kosovo, KFOR, 724 personnel, mandate limit, 1,850. Turkey, Operation Active Fence, 285 personnel, mandate limit, 400. Mediterranean Sea, Horn of Africa, Indian Ocean, Operation Atalanta, 248 personnel, mandate limit 1,400. Lebanon, UNIFIL, 149 personnel, mandate limit, 300. Mali, EUTM Mali, 94 personnel, mandate limit, 180. South Sudan, UNMISS, 17 personnel, mandate limit, 50. Sudan, UNAMID, 17 personnel, mandate limit, 50. The actual number of troops serving in an abroad deployment complies with the requirements of the current security situation. In addition to the numbers above, 40 soldiers are on permanent standby for medical evacuation operations around the world in assistance of ongoing German or coalition operations. In support of Allied stabilization efforts in Iraq, the Bundeswehr is also training the new Iraqi forces in locations outside Iraq, such as the United Arab Emirates and Germany. Since 1994, the Bundeswehr has lost about 100 troops in deployments abroad. See also, German Armed Forces casualties in Afghanistan. Equipment. According to the new threat scenario facing Germany and its NATO allies, the Bundeswehr is currently reorganizing itself. To realize growth in mobility and the enlargement of the Air Force's capabilities, the Bundeswehr is going to buy 53 Airbus A400M transports as well as 140 Eurofighter Typhoon fighters and also several unmanned aerial vehicle models. 57 Eurocopter Tiger, 100 NH-90 and 15 Special Forces helicopters are being delivered. For the ground forces it plans to upgrade to Puma infantry fighting vehicle and start to introduce a novel land soldier system and a new generation of transportation vehicles and light vehicles, such as the Fenk, the Boxer MRAV and KMW Grizzly. Further, the German Navy is going to build 6 new corvettes, 4 new F-125 class frigates, 2 joint support ships and 2 more Type 212 submarines. Appearance, uniforms. The service uniform is theoretically the standard type of Bundeswehr uniform for general duty and off-post activity, most associated, however, with ceremonial occasions. The Army's service uniform consists of a light grey, single-breasted coat and darker grey trousers, worn with a light blue shirt, black tie, and black shoes. The peaked, visored cap has been replaced by the beret as the most common form of headgear. Dress uniforms featuring dinner jackets or double-breasted coats are worn by officers for various social occasions. The battle and work uniform consists of flecktarn camouflage fatigues, which are also worn on field duty. In practice, they are also used for general duty and off-post, at least at barracks where there is also field duty even by others, and for the way home or to the post, and generally regarded as the Heer uniform. In all 3 services, light sand-colored uniforms are available for duty in warmer climates. A different, traditional variety of the service uniform is worn by the Gear, consisting of ski jacket, stretch trousers, and ski boots. Instead of the beret, they wear the grey mountain cap. The field uniform is the same, except for the metal edelweiss worn on the forage cap. The traditional arm of service colours appears lapel facings and as piping on shoulder straps. Generals wear an inner piping of gold braid. Other officers wear silver piping. Lapel facings and piping are maroon for general staff, green for infantry, red for artillery, pink for armor, black for engineers, yellow for communications, dark yellow for reconnaissance and various other colors for the remaining branches. Combat troops wear green, black, or maroon berets. Logistics troops and combat support troops, such as artillery or engineers, wear red berets. A gold or silver badge on the beret denotes the individual branch of service. The naval forces wear the traditional navy blue, double-breasted coat and trousers. Enlisted personnel wear either a white shirt or a navy blue shirt with the traditional navy collar. White uniforms provide an alternative for summer. The officer's dress cap is mounted with a gold anchor surrounded by a wreath. The visor of the admiral's cap bears a double row of oak leaves. The Air Force service uniform consists of a blue jacket and trousers with a light blue shirt, dark blue tie, and black shoes. olive battle dress similar to the Army fatigue uniform is worn in basic training and during other field duty. Flying personnel wear wings on their right breast. Other Air Force personnel wear a modified wing device with a symbol in its center denoting service specialization. These tar currency Tijkaitsabsation come in bronze, silver, or gold, depending on one's length of service in the speciality. Wings, superimposed over a wreath, in gold, silver, or bronze, depending on rank, are also worn on the service or field cap. Ranks. In general, officer ranks are those used in the Prussian and pre-1945 German armies. Officer rank insignia are worn on shoulder straps or shoulder boards. Army and Air Force junior officers' insignia are four-pointed silver stars while field-grade officers wear silver stars and an oak wreath around the lowest star. The stars and wreath are gold for general officers. In the case of naval officers, rank is indicated by gold stripes on the lower sleeve of the blue service jacket and on shoulder boards of the white uniform. Soldier and NCO ranks are similar to those of the Prussian and pre-1945 German armies. In the Army and Air Force, a Gefreiter corresponds to the NATO rank OR2 and Hauptgereiter to OR3. An Unteroffizier is the lowest-ranking sergeant, followed by Stabsunteroffizier, Feldwebel and Oberfeldwebel, Hauptfeldwebel, Stabsfeldwebel and Oberstabsfeldwebel. Ranks of Army and Air Force enlisted personnel are designated by stripes, chevrons, and sword knots worn on rank slides. Naval enlisted rank designations are worn on the upper or lower sleeve along with a symbol based on an anchor for the service specialization. Army and Air Force officer candidates hold the separate ranks of Verhandjunker, Fahrcurrency HNRICH and Oberfahrcurrency HNRICH, and wear the appropriate rank insignia plus a silver cord bound around it. Officers candidates in the Navy Sea Cadet and Fahrcurrency HNRICH SIRC wear the rank insignia of the respective enlisted ranks but with a gold star instead of the rating symbol, while an Oberfahrcurrency HNRICH SIRC wears an officer-type thin rank stripe. Medical personnel of all three services wear a version of the traditional caduceus on their shoulder straps or sleeve. The officers' ranks have own designations differing from the line officers. The rank insignias however are basically the same. Women. Women have served in the medical service since 1975. From 1993 to 2000, they were also allowed to serve as enlisted personnel and non-commissioned officers in the medical service in the Army bands. In 2000, in a lawsuit brought up by Tanja Krail, the European Court of Justice issued a ruling allowing women to serve in more roles than previously allowed. Since 2001 they can serve in all functions of service without restriction, but they were not subject to conscription. There are presently around 18,617 women on active duty and a number of female reservists who take part in all duties including peacekeeping missions and other operations. In 1994, Verena von Wiemann became Generalarzt der Luftwaffe, the first woman ever to reach the rank of general in the armed forces of Germany. Rank structure. Army and Air Force, enlisted, SHA 1/4 of Flieger or equivalent rank, Private Airman Basic Aircraftman or equivalent rank, Gefreiter, Private Airman E2, Gefreiter UA, Private Airman E2, NCO Candidate, Gefreiter FA, Private Airman E2, NCO Candidate, Gefreiter OA, Private Airman E2, Officer Candidate, Obergereiter, Private First Class/Airman First Class, Hauptgereiter, Lance Corporal/Senior Airman, Stabsgereiter, Corporal, Oberstabsgereiter, Specialist/Master Corporal, non-commissioned officers, Unteroffizier, Lance Sergeant, Unteroffizier FA, Lance Sergeant, Candidate Staff Sergeant, Stabsunteroffizier, Sergeant, Feldwebel, Staff Sergeant/Flight Sergeant, Oberfeldwebel, Staff Sergeant/Flight Sergeant, Hauptfeldwebel, Sergeant First Class. Technical Sergeant, Stabsfeldwebel, Master Sergeant/Quartermaster Sergeant/Senior Master Sergeant, Oberstabsfeldwebel, Sergeant Major Officer Cadets, Verhandjunker Cadet/Officer Candidate, Fahrcurrency HNRICH, Ensign, Oberfahrcurrency HNRICH, Senior Ensign Officers Lieutenant, Second Lieutenant, Oberleutnant, First Lieutenant, Lieutenant, Hauptmann, Captain, Stabshauptmann, Senior Captain, Major Oberstleutnant, Lieutenant Colonel, Oberst, Colonel, Brigadier General, Brigadier General, Brigadier, General Major, Major General, General Lieutenant, Lieutenant General, General Navy Enlisted, Matros, Seaman Recruit, Gefreiter, Seaman Apprentice E2, Gefreiter MA, Seaman Apprentice E2, Petty Officer Candidate, Gefreiter BA, Seaman Apprentice E2, Chief Petty Officer Candidate, Gefreiter OA, Seaman Apprentice E2, Officer Candidate, Obergurita. Seaman, Hauptgurita, Able Seaman, Stabsgurita, Leading Seaman, Oberstabsgurita, Master Seaman, Non-Commissioned Officers, Mart, Petty Officer 3rd Class, Mart BA, Petty Officer 3rd Class, Probationary Petty Officer 1st Class, Obermatt, Petty Officer 2nd Class, Bootsman, Petty Officer 1st Class, Oberbootsman, Chief Petty Officer, Hauptbootsman, Senior Chief Petty Officer, Stabsbootsman, Master Chief Petty Officer, Oberstabsbootsman, Command Master Chief Petty Officer, Fleet Force Master Chief Petty Officer, Officer Cadets, Sea Cadet in the rank of Petty Officer 3rd Class, FAR Currency HNRICH Sir C, Midshipman 2nd Class in the rank of Petty Officer 1st Class, Oberfar Currency HNRICH Sir C, Midshipman 1st Class in the rank of Senior Chief Petty Officer, Officers, Lieutenant Sir C, Ensign, Oberleutnant Sir C, Lieutenant/Sub-Lieutenant, Capita Currency Lieutenant, Lieutenant Captain Lieutenant Stabs Capita Currency Lieutenant, Senior Lieutenant Senior Captain Lieutenant Corvette en Capita Currency N, Lieutenant Commander Frigate en Capita Currency N, Commander, Capita Currency N Sir C, Captain Captain at Sea, Flotilla Admiral, Contradmiral, Counter-Admiral, Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral, Vice Admiral Admiral Awards. Badge of Honor of the Bundeswehr, Combat Action Medal of the Bundeswehr, German Armed Forces Badge of Marksmanship, German Armed Forces Badge for Military Proficiency, German Armed Forces Flood Service Medal, German Armed Forces Service Medal, German Parachutist Badge, see also. Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany, Parachutist Badge, references, Gino Charter Uniforms, Ranks, and Insignia. Germany, a Country Study. Federal Research Division of the Library of Congress of the USA. This article incorporates text from this source, which is in the public domain. Further reading, Searle, Alaric. Wehrmacht Generals, West German Society, and the Debate on Rearmament, 1949–1959. Westport, Connecticut, Praeger Pub. External links, Bundeswehr Euro official site, Federal Ministry of Defense official site, Bundesamt für Quartier und Beschaffung official site, Bundesamt für Quartier Informationsmanagement und Informationstechnik der Bundeswehr official site, Territorial Wehrverwaltung official site, Y, Magazine of the Federal Defense Forces, Zeitschrift für Erführung, Reader's Sicherheitspolitik.